Lately, I've been on a quest, a never fought puzzle on how to really improve my DMing game. This time, I really wanted to think about what makes a dungeon amazing. I had been doing pre-run stuff for a while now, grinding away at those Wizard of the Coast campaign modules, but something felt really off about them. The dungeons, they just weren't what I was looking for in my game. They felt scattered and unconnected, and just unnecessary a lot of the time. And I kept thinking to myself, there has to be a better way. So I crafted up my own story. I spent a lot of time just thinking about a narrative I wanted and how I really wanted things to be interconnected, feeling like they belonged in the same world, that it wasn't a random series of events and places, but something that fit so perfectly together like a puzzle to slowly connect. So I got my story, and it fit nicely in place. But then it became time to make the actual dungeon. I sat there and I just fought and fought. What was missing in these Wizard of the Coast campaign modules? Why do they feel so boring? There was one missing thing from the list. Not urgency, not movement, not elevations, not traps, not puzzles or shapes or difficulty, none of that. This one thing that separates just a place, an area for your adventure to go to an epic, amazing story your players will feel invested in. Turning dungeons into things they'll be able to list off the top of their head at the end of the campaign. Dungeons are always thought to be a place, a location, a side thing for your players to occupy themselves with. But I don't think they should be treated like that. When you paint a character in the background itself should be able to stand on its own. It's treated like a character, having personality, story, and insight into its meaning, equally sharing the importance of the character in the piece, even if the character will be noticed more. You take just as much time and effort and value to make that background as you do to make the character. It should be considered its equal. Dungeons deserve a motive. We give our characters motive. We strive for reason in every humanoid we make, giving NPCs, villains, and player characters motive, throwing the utmost importance onto the whys and the choices they make. They help bring the creatures to life. But motives help not only creatures, they help props feel alive and breathing, something with purpose to its existence and use. My dungeon I created to replace the Lost Mines of Vandever was a success because it wasn't just a hole in the ground, or a building that just happens to be in the path of my adventures. My dungeon's motive was to bring an army of ogre zombies back to life one by one. A combination of an ancient bathhouse and a modern fantasy day purpose. A building designed in every aspect to work towards its goal. But motives for a place don't need to be of the current time or epic. They can be ancient reasons that give insights into who might have lived there once before. A glimpse into a long-forgotten past of the realm. An ancient city of dwarves who fell from a war long ago, but in their dying effort they set up traps and puzzles to protect their city and keep non-inhabitants out. Not only is it working to keep the players out, but it's also against our big bad evil guy too, sicking traps down onto both parties within battle, creating an epic scene where possibly multiple layers of monsters are fighting your players and each other. Motives can be very misaligned with the bad guy's motive, to create a deep sense of drama, or they can work together, meshing nicely into a story. And my baddie's motive from that ancient bathhouse from earlier was to take over the city. Together, these two goals work together to create an interesting set, the story that felt like it belonged, both working in tandem to create a harmony of objectives. Now, does this give a reason on why players would want to come here? No, not in the slightest. Because dungeons' motives don't even have to align with the player's motive. Motives and how they interact and mingle with each other add such diversity to a situation you can set up in Dungeons & Dragons. It keeps things new and fresh. But the benefits of dungeon motives don't just stop there. Oh no, they do something much cooler. Something way more interesting. This thing you'll see if you play certain video games. Some of my favorite games do this so well, like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, or Ark Survival Evolved. And no, it's not killing you 10 million times, or watching everything you love be destroyed by a tiny little guy, although they are very good at that. It's letting you discover story. These games don't just tell you the story. It's all around you, it's hidden in plain sight, in small details around the map, or vague descriptions of items. Nothing is ever in your face. It doesn't cram story down your mouth, it lets you unlock it, discover it. The items and places have deep lore that you can dive headfirst into if you want, making theories and reasons to why things are the way they are. Or you can ignore it and play the game, barely scratching at the surface, an iceberg of hidden info behind the tiniest of objects. This non-intrusive way of introducing story is perfect for both lore addicts and also casual story players, whether you want to spend 10 hours deep diving into the iceberg worth of lore or just mindlessly go through the game. But what's really cool is when we do it in a verbal story, it gives this deep sense of greater world lore, this gut feeling that there's something more than what meets the eye about a place, a spark of secrets and history. The same feeling you get when a DM has been playing in the same world for like 10 campaigns and they know everything about the world. But we can do it within the first campaign in that world setting, without spending countless hours thinking everything through. This rich sense of purpose and belonging and history that covers the itch we have for knowledge and understanding something, when all we did is create one sentence, or one tiny simple paragraph about motive of the dungeon early on in its creation. Often make something called implied details. This trick hacks your brain. We give you the smallest nugget of detail and the viewer's brain fills in the rest. Seeing a couple bricks on the building and the viewer instantly fills it in, knowing the entire building is made of bricks. This is a survival mechanism that our brain has developed, so that if we see part of a wolf sticking out behind a tree, our brain can instantly assume there's the rest of the wolf behind the tree, and we need to defend ourselves to survive. Instead of needing to see the rest of the wolf and to understand that there's a threat there. This saves artists hours and hours of work by abusing this survival instinct that lets people see a full picture without all the minute details. Where in the past, and in certain situations, this might save your life, now in the present, it can be used to become a game of finding hints within descriptions, within what characters see within the game. For some players, this in itself might just become a really fun part of your session. Much like how in Game of Thrones, Sansa Stark spends her time looking at boats on the dock, and guessing the lives of the people on the ship. Who are they? What do they do? A bit of drama about their life. Now, not everyone will go this far, in fact, most people probably won't. But many players who love story will love this method of elevating dungeons. This beauty of implying details and letting players make theories, and by avernus, use those theories as you see fit. If your players come up with a theory and it's a good one and you like it, take it, run wild with it, bring it to the next level. Grab that player theory and use it to paint a bigger picture of the world. That small amount of excitement someone has about something you described and fly with it. This in itself will make a player feel really good. There's nothing better than a good dopamine hit you get from confirmation bias. I still remember so many times as a player where I felt so empowered when I correctly predicted something or just understood something a little early. Even tiny moments I had, like guessing the honking sounds description was going to be a bunch of geese monsters. Now just imagine that feeling I got from my tiny prediction, but on a larger, grander scale. It's just so exciting. Whether it be a small mini side quest dungeon or a really big picture of the full campaign. That moment where Marisha from Critical Role will set her notebook on her head and piece together the plot. And the thing is, they never have to know you took some of their ideas, and that they weren't actually onto something that was already planned. Now, before we continue onwards, what am I drawing today? This is my party fighting over the last role at the Festival of the Smell of Cool Air, in the intersection of the Fire and Earth plane, in the city of Encombe. I'm currently working on expanding the elemental planes one area at a time into a place that is as fun and exciting and as developed as the Feywilds and Shadowfell. Currently focusing on the border between the Fire and Earth plane, I've created races, NPCs, and plan to create so much more in the future till this dimension is so full of life and content. And if that interests you, consider checking out my Patreon, link in description. But how do we even go at showing these implied details? Where a villain might literally tell you, talking on a long villainous rant, detailing every plot out, talking about how they're going to take over the city by raising an army of undead ogres because once upon a time they were insulted by a fairy and it upset them. I implore you not to do that for your dungeon motive, to instead try your best to show, not tell. Which I can be bad at doing too sometimes, but everything with skill is a work in progress. Now, I know this is theater of the mind game, but adding these things in through murals, sculptures, and room descriptions, even items and objects your players can interact with, will add so much to the game. Sure, you could have them roll some kind of knowledge check, letting their stats and chances decide their knowledge bomb fate. Or you could tell them about a large bathhouse of liquid that stings your eyes and nose as steam rises and fills the room. A large cage drops into the liquid, causing a big splash. A corpse of an ogre begins to twitch as you hear the sounds of a choir voice chanting from the far side of the room. Shortly, you hear the click sounds of a lever being pulled, as another ogre-filled cage crashes down into the vile liquid. As the group explores the place, they find control panels with levers guarded by cultists, and later they find the cult leader leading the choir and raising the ogres to do his bidding. Descriptions can tell a plot or a motive without ever having to villain rant. Let the players be detectives, pull their magnifying glasses out and discovering the evidence of the dungeon's motive left behind. Just like we don't need to ask a person if there was a car in an accident if the car has a huge dent in its side. Your players can assume things based on descriptions you give them. Let them piece it together. Show, not tell. The small bit of detail that will imply the rest of your dungeon's motive. Thank you for coming along on my journey of trying to make these games the most fun I possibly can. And I know my artwork isn't done yet, but I'm gonna pick it back up in next video. So I hope I see you then. And I would love to know what was the last really fun moment you had here in your games. Have a great day.